Born to be wild.
Right, you sit there. Okay, so last session of the day. You've all done fantastically well. To last through it all, we've got a little bit more for you. So, these two, as you know, have been asking a lot of people a lot of questions all day, and now it's our turn to turn the tables on them. You wuss.
You can do it if you want.
It's all right. No, it's all right. It's fine.
Is that a bit creepy?
Yes, go away. Now they have been asking lots of people lots of questions, but both of them know far more than they let on. So this is your chance to ask them questions about anything, not sort of technical stuff. It's a bit late in the day for very technical stuff, but all the interesting things they've seen and they think about the things that are here today and things that might be here next year. So this is your chance to ask all of that. Who's got a question for this lot?
And where's Dan with the mic?
Dan with the mic is
over
there.
there. Sorry, thank you, Dan. You choose, Dan. You're very good at choosing
all right,
things.
so why don't we start with over there in the middle? Yes.
I've got a question. Was there a particular, this to both of you, was there a particular moment in the past that actually turned you to electric vehicles? Was there a particular defining, either driving a particular vehicle or perhaps something that happened in a combustion engine car that made you think this is the future?
I think for me it was, I wonder what year it would have been, 2001 or 2, getting a ride home very late at night in a Toyota Prius. I didn't know that's what it was. I just got in a little car in a dark car park with a young woman. It might sound wrong, but it wasn't at all. She was one of the producers on Scrappy, and she drove me home, and we were at traffic lights on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles at about 2 a.m, and it was the red lights were red, there's very little other traffic around, and then suddenly the car moved off, and it felt like it was being towed by a wire that I couldn't see, like a trolley car or something. And I went, how did that work? Because we were going up a slight hill, and there was no engine noise, there was no vroom, nothing. And she just said, "Oh, it's a hybrid," just like that. And I honestly had never heard the word hybrid used outside horticulture. So outside my apartment, a young woman got out of the car and I asked her to pop her hood, which is completely legitimate for a man in late middle age to ask a young woman. So I had a look underneath, and that was the Toyota Prius. And I went, why? Why would you bother? And that's really the start for me. You know, why is someone bothered to put an electric motor and a petrol engine together? What's the problem?
Johnny, how about you?
Well, it's not as interesting as that, unfortunately. It doesn't involve women at 2 a.m. I think it was, when I was very small, I got into radio-controlled electric cars.
Yeah.
And that's the first car I ever owned, I suppose. It was a model car that you built, and it had a battery pack and a speed controller. And then, fast forward 20 years or something. In 2007, I think it was, or 2008, I drove a pre-production car that became the Leaf.
Yeah.
And it was a Nissan Cube in Yokohama in Japan. And they'd invited some journalists over to drive this pre-prod drone thing. And I got in it, and it had this cool display on the dash with lots of lightning strikes, a bit like the fully charged symbol, Robert. And I got in it, and they just went, "There's a test track there. All you got to do is put it in D, like an auto." And I drove it, and it was just suddenly very serene and very relaxing, but also incredibly responsive. And as a car fanatic, I just kind of went, "Oh,
yeah.
What if this could do 100 or more miles?" And it got me thinking, and then little did we realise, we knew that this was going to become a production car, but that then became the Leaf. And then straight after the Leaf, I guess I ended up driving lots of other production EVs. But there was a combination of that and seeing in America a guy called John Wayland who built this old 70s Datsun and repurposed electric motors and batteries in, and was out drag racing Corvettes, Dodge Vipers, really annoying a lot of people in America.
Yeah.
Really irritating them. And I liked his attitude of I can build a car to beat that. And I've always liked things that are a bit odd, which is why I'm wearing the shoes I'm wearing. And so I guess I just thought I'd like a piece of that.
Yeah. And then actually Johnny and I met for the first time I can remember meeting you was when you were doing Fifth Gear, and he and Tiff Nadell drove a long way in... What were you in?
Drove in a Mitsubishi i-Me from Newcastle upon Tyne to your house in London.
Yeah. So, and that's where we kind of met, and I kind of thought, yeah, Johnny's all right. Tiff, lovely bloke, really like him, but not that keen on EVs. I bet he'll turn.
He's a handsome dinosaur.
He is a handsome dinosaur.
Let's have another question before we get into the handsome dinosaurs. How about down at the front here?
How does your TV work compared to producing content for YouTube?
So traditional TV, as in BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, blah, 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 to YouTube, I have to say from my point of view, it's much more fun doing it this way. With the team that we work with, many of whom are here today, we've become very close mates. It's not I don't think it's a hierarchical business structure by any means. And it's from the point of view of the way what we can choose to do. Our editorial freedom is boundless, and that is what I find the most attractive. So I've done a lot of presenting for television companies where you have a list of things that you're doing, some of which I'm really interested in, some of which less so. And it's nothing to do with you. You're just a hired hand, which is fine. It's a good gig if you can get it. It's not bad. But this is, we're thinking really long term about. We come across this company that's going to be doing this in 2 years' time. Let's put that on the list. We're constantly seeing stuff that's just emerging. A lot of which you're seeing here today. So it just makes it much more interesting from our point of view. We're very involved in the whole production process.
It's because the immediacy of it is quite liberating, and also he's my boss on Fully Charged. I am hired by him, so and you own Fully Charged.
Yeah.
So he's the most laid back, smiley faced boss I've ever had. Because I just go, look, I've got this idea. There's this car and it's over there, and I'm going to drive it to do a thing there, and he just goes, yeah, okay.
Well, I sometimes look at the budget and go, Jesus.
Yeah, well, you sometimes go, we can't afford to do that. And I go, okay, we'll save
Actually, there have been times when we just said, no, we can't. But yeah, generally.
In all seriousness, TV is really political, and it's very slow moving. So you can have a great idea and it can get commissioned, and you will not, pretend you know this as well, Helen, you might not start filming it for 18 months.
Yeah.
And that is terribly boring.
And also stuff changes in that time.
Stuff changes, the world changes. So I think the liberating thing about self-publishing, YouTube type of stuff, is you can just come up with an idea and go, should we do that? Should we do that? Yeah, let's just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that combination of things that 10 years ago wouldn't have been possible. So, the very first TV program that I sat down and helped edit, so I was involved with the editor, the edit suite, as it was called then, cost, I think, nearly £200,000. And it does much less than the cheapest smartphone can do now. I mean, that's what is extraordinary. I mean, I'm quite old, so that was quite a long time ago. But the means of production are so much cheaper, and the cameras that we use are much cheaper than old broadcast cameras, but the picture's better. So there's a lot of that stuff that's
and
really
they're smaller
cheap.
as well. You can get them in places and take them places that you couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So
okay, more questions. So I'm looking for. I'm gonna say this directly. Are there any women in the audience who've got a question? No.
Of course
Come
there
on,
aren't.
somebody.
Of course there
yes.
aren't. Oh, there is.
Well done. Okay. Off you go.
Hi. What's your vision for the Fully Charged show in, say, 5 years' time, or next year, or in 2 years? What will it look like? What will the aims be?
I think what I quite like is that I introduce 1 or 2 programs a year from a comfy armchair with my slippers on.
In Hawaii. I was saying, sadly, this week we lost Peter Stringfellow. I said to Robert, someone needs to take his place.
No one needs to take his place. Thank you very much. We can do without that.
It would be renewably powered, the club. It would be very different. I mean, it would be... I think that it's a difficult one because we want to maintain the control that we have over it now, as a company, and we want to make sure that integrity remains, and that is a daily struggle to maintain that. So we've had some offers from proper broadcasters that we're investigating, and it might be that we'll do another series. We wouldn't make Fully Charged for old, traditional television, but there might be opportunities where we can do something that we really want to do, as well as
like a spin-off.
Like a spin-off, yeah. So, but I mean, I think in a sense it's to keep it going in the way it is. And I mean, there's so many exciting things that we know are coming up in the next few years that are really, we're really excited about doing, is to make the thing I've really been reminded about today, which is in a sense language-based, is the amount of children I've met who watch Fully Charged. And every time their mum and dad say, oh, they love it, they watch Fully Charged, I go, oh, because I think I might have used an inappropriate term.
Actually, when the cameras are on, he's not very sweary. Actually,
so what you're implying there is when the cameras are off.
Well,
but we've heard from lots of teachers that show that put the show on for the kids. So it is important that we kind of maintain a family-friendly thing. And occasionally, if I get a bit annoyed,
it's good to have bolder ambitions, and I think we've talked about if we could afford to do slightly more bolder adventures.
Yeah. Slightly bolder adventures. The other one, which I'm really excited about, is to record news episodes, which Jonny and I often do together, but with a small panel, in a way like you've seen today, but we'd have a set agenda of topics that we talk about, but we'd record them in front of an audience, so in a theatre or in an arts centre or somewhere around the country, so we'd move around a bit to try and do that. So we have that audience participation as well.
So like the Grand Tour?
Just like the Grand Tour. We could do it in a tent. We might put it up in a tent. Yeah, and then have a celebrity that's jumped out of a parachute and they fall in the field, because that's funny. Yeah.
Right, more questions. Who else got a question? How about the gentleman on the corner here, the purple in front of you, Dan? Yeah.
Hello, and thanks very much for putting this on. Brilliant. Thanks, Dan.
You thank the man stood behind you.
Yes, that's what
Kneeling
I just
and
did.
hiding behind you.
Yes. It's obvious that Robert has, during the making of Fully Charged, you've taken on some of the brilliant ideas that you've seen, like the Tesla Powerwall and things. Jonny has been brought in for his electric car expertise. Have you actually made any changes, or are you going to make any changes to your sort of home situation because of the things that you've seen on
Well, luckily, my wife's just gone home, so I can say this and she's not listening. But we've been wanting to renovate our house for the last 4 years. I promised it would be done in 2 years, so I've already managed to string that out a little bit. And the whole purpose of it is because my house, I love my house, but it's terribly inefficient. And we got 2 plug-in cars. I hate having to spend money on oil because I live in the countryside, so I've got oil central heating, and it's so unfully charged, my house. So I'm hoping to right that wrong. And I think I started off being more interested in plug-in vehicles, and by very nature, I said this in an earlier seminar, you start to get interested in how you charge it and how you power all the things around you. I think it's like it's a conduit, it's kind of a natural progression. So the short answer is yes, I want a more efficient house and I take an interest in it.
So, I mean, we're really hoping that Jonny will let us film it when he starts to knock his house down. Because I've been through that with 2 small children, and it's just a deep, deep trough of joy. to live with 2 small children in a building site. It's just so relaxing.
There's a reason why I've been stringing it out this long, because I know it's going to just be awful. But the end result will be lovely.
It would be amazing. Yeah, no, it would be a really good thing to do.
Okay, right, next question.
I'm very aware with my Ioniq that I get 4.5 to 5.5 miles to my kilowatt.
Wow.
But what I find is that when you're looking at other cars, I don't know what a Tesla gets, I don't know what a Leaf gets. Why don't we have a standard measure?
That is a very good question. It was something that Helen and I were talking about earlier, exactly that, because I can get, on a good day, 365 watt-hours a mile in a Tesla. What the hell is that? How different is that? I mean, if I have a pen and paper and a calculator and Helen's sitting next to me, I can work it out. But on my own, it's impossible. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's something that auto manufacturers need to agree on, which way round we're going to go. And it's got to be watt-hours a kilometre or kilometres a watt-hour, I think, in the end, even though we all hang on to miles of a certain generation. The amount of comments we get when I say on an episode of Fully Charged, I'm doing 65 miles an hour, and what's that? Don't even know what that is. Grow up. Yeah. You know, get on the programme. You're useless, bring back Jonny. That's the very first episode that had Jonny in it. The first comment was, thank God they got rid of the old bloke. I cut that one out, stuck it on the office wall. Isn't that brilliant?
a headache. I wish, as a physicist coming to this from like where we have nice, sensible units, like, meters per second, I find it intolerable.
Yeah.
But it's also political, the choice, isn't it? Because some things look better with some ways of measuring than others. Okay, right. Who else have you got a question from?
So in a minute ago, you alluded to a list of exciting things that you'd like to do. Can you give us a glimpse as to some of the things that might be on that list? What's coming up?
What you're looking at here is the agony of working out whether they can reveal their secrets. That was a very mean question.
So we're... I'm going next month, July.
Quite soon, isn't it?
It's
Yeah.
July. Yes, next month. I've just had the green light, and this is an exclusive.
Yeah.
It might not be that interesting. Wait. The VW, they've just announced they're going to try and break the world record at Pikes Peak, which is the legendary mountain hill climb race in Colorado. And I'm going out there with fully charged to shadow the team because they think they're going to break it. And bear in mind, the last, I think, 5 years of Pikes Peak has been, every record's been broken by only electric vehicles.
Yeah.
They're the fastest outright vehicles. This could be spectacular. It's a big statement from VW. They've built a car to compete in it. Bearing in mind, they last went in about 1989 and failed miserably and went home and never came back. So that's going to be, coupled with the fact that if you make a wrong move on Pikes Peak, you just die.
Yes.
So
It's quite a dangerous track, isn't it?
It's probably one of the most, that and the Isle of Man TT, they're pretty much up there being the most dangerous.
Yeah.
So that's kind of exciting.
So those opportunities, I mean, there are, I don't know what else, I'm just trying to think what else we've got. There's a long list. I can't remember. I mean, we're going to certainly try and get to see numerous rather big installations. So a lot of like big solar and battery installations that are already there. The football stadium in The Hague in the Netherlands is very close to 100% renewably powered. So it has, the roof is all covered in solar, and they've got huge amounts of batteries, which are ex-car batteries, that store the electricity, and they become a net exporter of electricity into the, I don't know if it is The Hague, it's somewhere really cool and Dutch, where everyone's really tall and gorgeous. It's just a normal town in the Netherlands.
It's just a normal town, yeah.
Any more secrets, or is that that's the secrets for now, is it? Enough secrets for now?
There's other secrets, and I'd be a brilliant secret agent, because they go, what are the secrets? I can't remember. And they could do anything.
I'd like to build him an electric old Land Rover. Because he used to have an old Land Rover. Was it a V8?
Yeah. No, diesel.
It was an old Series 2 or something. I'd like to build him like a fully charged version of what he used to drive back in the Scrap Heap Challenge days.
Yeah. I mean, that is one, there's some fantasies we're having about whether there's a sort of Scrap Heap Challenge fully charged hybrid where we use old electric cars and cut them up and make not cars. I quite like
just machines.
A terrifyingly fast lawnmower that can do 0 to a lawn in 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a Scrap Heap Challenge fully charged mashup would actually work.
I think it would work.
Do it.
It's the budget that is that we'd have to run one of these every other day in order to fund it, which could be quite tiring.
We'd have to start up that supergroup that we've talked about.
The supergroup. Yes. Johnny and I do want to tour as a supergroup. What was the latest name for? I've forgotten what it was.
Well, the Faraday Past.
Yeah, Faraday Past. Yeah. That was. Yeah. They're the support group. There was the new one.
Oh, the big one. Oh.
The 70s rock.
What were they called?
Progressive rock.
Axel Tramp.
Axel Tramp.
Yes. Yeah,
Axel Tramp.
Yeah.
Right, before we get into their fantasies.
Yes, sorry, Helen.
All right, so let's have some more questions.
Sorry.
It was the end of a long day.
In front here. Yes, so there's a microphone just behind you. Look, turn around.
The other way. Oh, there you go.
I just wanted to ask, when's the Fully Charged Live thing going to come out on YouTube, and how many episodes?
Those are two brilliant questions, and the answer is, and I'm looking at Mark, when will the episodes that we've recorded here go out, and how many episodes, Mark?
Yeah, Mark. By the way,
it's all
everybody.
down to Mark.
You should have seen the look of panic on his face.
He's head of creative. It's all down to him.
I'd like to say a thank you to Mark, because the reason why the episodes of Fully Charged do look pretty good, even though I say it myself, is because this man sits in a dark room editing and does most of the filming himself. And having worked in TV, what he can achieve on his own is incredible.
This is extraordinary.
Yeah.
So big up to Mark. And now, now you can guarantee that moment will be in all the videos.
Nothing like a bit of
But I think
self-congratulation.
I think it's going to. Unfortunately, because we're not a breaking news channel, thank goodness, it's going to take a while because presumably we've built up quite a stock of footage today, and we will tomorrow. So we will try and get them all out because that's one of the really. Another thing actually we forgot to mention regarding YouTube is that we've all done stuff for the BBC or Channel 4, Channel 5, and it goes out here, and occasionally some things get broadcast in other countries. 55% of the fully charged audience lives outside the UK. So the majority of people who watch the show don't live in the UK. So that's one of the problems of doing a show here. And we've already been...
I've met someone from Holland today, someone from France, and 2 people from Australia.
Yeah.
Who came specifically for this.
Okay, more questions.
One more question.
Do you have a date yet for Fully Charged Live 2019?
Oh, Fully Charged Live 2019.
Yeah, Robert.
Yeah. Dan?
Similar time of year next year.
That's good.
Nice.
A similar time of year.
Probably before Fully Charged Live America, probably.
Fully Charged Live America.
I'm joking.
That's sprung its head up today. The things that we're really keen to make sure of is that we get the chance to facilitate test drives, or even, if not test drives, test rides. So there's professional drivers that can take people out, possibly on the track, possibly around the Stowe circuit. There is the facilities here to do that. Obviously, we couldn't do it this weekend because of this. And I think probably, judging by the response this year, unless you all go away and tweet about it, it was rubbish, it's horrible. Jonny Smith swore at my kids. It was a nightmare.
He is an idiot.
But if not, and we get a good response for next year, it would probably be bigger, I suppose. We'd use more of this. We're using about half the building, aren't we, at the moment? So there's room for expansion.
There's lots of grand ideas that we've got, but obviously you have to be sensible when you first try a show. And Dan was like, guys, we can't have flying clowns in solar-powered airships. And
we really wanted a whole fleet of flying airships with solar-powered clowns abseiling.
What? That is probably a very good way to finish this session, actually, because there is one more thing we are going to do after this, so don't go anywhere. But before we do that, these people have been thanking other people all day, but I think we should all give them a round of applause for being them, making this happen.
Oh, Robert.